seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the So apologies for the delays there, ladies and gentlemen, as the qualifying the practice session, my apologies, comes to a close. If you are just joining us, we did have a momentary disconnect as we experienced some technical difficulties, but hey, it's the internet and the technology and these things do happen, but still our sincere apologies. And welcome back to Brands Hatch in the JSRA Cup. Alongside me is Mark Ryu. And yeah, Mark, how are we feeling now that things have kind of stabilized?
Well, I'm feeling a little better about the stream, at least. It looks nice and smooth now. But if you are talking about the racing, well, overall it looks actually about the same, because I'm looking at this, and I think before the disconnect, it was still a 25.889 from Daniel Velez. So I don't think, at least in practice anyway, anything improved. I have seen a few spins and such, and folks getting, acclimated to the track. But now it's qualifying time, and we're going to have to see Can you step it up? Can you put in your flyer of a lap? You have so many opportunities on this circuit to gain time, and it's a smaller field today, so you have lots of room to go for a flying lap. I cannot wait to see this here, Chad.
Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be exciting all around. There were improvements, but I think those drivers disconnected. The likes of Tim Stahl did improve to a 25.3, and Jaden Harrison to a 25.3 and Tim Stahl to a 25.4. Luis Daniel Velez got to that 25.8, just ahead of Estefana Barrera. So right now, we are looking at coming out of the practice session a JSRA Team A1-2 and a Noble Racing 3-4-5. So does it stay that way? Will the points match out for one team versus the other? 15 points in it. We shall see who stands on top when we get to the end of the 40-minute race that is coming up in just a few moments time, as we are about to move into the qualifying session.
Yeah, 15 minutes. You don't have a lot of time to get around, but that's the nature of it, right? It's just like in other, real life series. You have one shot at getting that perfect lap, and only a couple of opportunities to get a fairly good lap in, or work your way up. So as you can see, people are headed out to the pit lane right away. Oh, and someone stopped there. Oh, they must have. I bet you they forgot their setup, so they headed right back to the pit box to go and do that. If that was real life, you'd be in a whole heap of trouble, having to go back round again. You wouldn't be, well, I don't think you'd be able to be pushed back. So, yeah, we are underway here in qualifying, and Velez and Salazar, they're all out right away, and let's see how they do.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those tracks that, because it's such a short track, 9 turns, not a lot of distance, you want to beat the traffic, you want to be ahead of any possible hindrances to your overall lap time. So I guess that was the mad race out of the pits for all of these drivers to make sure that they get themselves the cleanest lap possible. So we will see who manages to put in a time that secures them pole position over the next 13 and a half minutes. It is about to kick off very, very soon. The drivers giving themselves some space. Javier Salazar will be the first driver to give us a flying lap. So he was down there in 5th place in the practice session. Let's see what we get from him here as he is going through turn 1, and already other drivers behind him starting their flying laps. Mark, it's gonna be an exciting qualifying session, I think.
Absolutely, it is. And and someone just disconnected. I think that might have been one of the safety cars. Never mind, sorry. I thought someone had possibly an internet disconnection there. That would have been very bad time for that. But no, Salazar coming through now into Sector 2. Coming down the very long straight that we have here, just off of the kind of short circuit and onto the main kind of Grand Prix circuit here, down to Hortham Bend. And then he's going to take the right-hander, he's going to head up towards the kind of, I think that's the northern end of the circuit, if I'm not mistaken, at Westfield, and heads all the way back down. And this whole track is very fast. There is no point on this circuit really, apart from maybe the hairpin at turn 2 at Druids, where you really have to slow down here. This whole track, you can keep the momentum and you can work your way around, manage your tyres, and honestly, this is one of the best tracks in the UK and maybe even the world. And Salazar goes through, sets the first lap time at 26.7. That's not going to be nearly enough there, Chad.
I don't think it is, but the drivers seem to be struggling in the early stages here, as nobody is putting in a representative lap time. The track,
who is that?
Yeah, that was Mikhail Charles having a bit of a lockup at the Druids, but we certainly are looking at maybe a track that the grip has reduced slightly between sessions. The track says it's optimum, but the lap time is not reflecting that. Estefano Barrera on 26.2 and still about a second off the pace that we saw in practice. So maybe the driver's just trying to rebuild that confidence that they had in the car, because like you said, it's a very high speed circuit. You are carrying momentum the entire lap, and it could go very wrong in one place, and that undoes the entirety of your lap with the speed that you are supposed to be carrying. So we will observe what the times are looking like in a few moments time.
Absolutely, and Jaden Harrison just joining back with 10 minutes to go in qualifying here, so he's going to have to quickly get out to the pit lane and get up to speed here. And we were noticing while we're riding right now with Estefano Barrera set the purple sector 2, so it looks like he's going to improve quite a bit here. But I noticed coming out of corner number 2 there of Druids, I really think that should be track limits if you're going beyond the curbing, and he was almost going beyond even the kind of fake green grass there. I don't even know what you call it, but you know, I'd say that should be track limits. So I don't think it should count, but I think Assetto Corsa is going to say it's going to count here, crossing the line, and yes, a 25.898. And pulls off to the side of the road. That's going to be much nicer for him. I don't think that should count, but I think the simulator, who has the final say, is going to say that's going to count.
Absolutely. Tim Stahl here now coming through the final corner. Looks like he's going to destroy the lap time posted by Barrera. Not quite the disruption that it looked like at first, but a good 3/10 advantage to Tim Stahl on a 125.5. So that's the time to beat at the moment, and a 3/10 advantage, as I mentioned, for Tim Stahl. We will see who can challenge him. We are looking for the likes of Jaden Harrison to go a bit quicker. He was the one that topped the timing sheets in the practice session, so let's see if he has it in him to do it again as he is about to start his first flying lap of the session. We will ride on board with him for this lap to see what Jaden Harrison has in store for us here.
But you know what, Chad? He did just get out to the pit lane, so don't expect him to be right up to speed just yet. But he does have to get a move on this lap. That is for sure. And Raven Plummer, no lap time yet. Could be working up the tires. As you were telling me in the pre-race, she is very much the statistician. So obviously knows how to work these cars into the working window. So I bet you they're bringing the tires up to temperature, ready to go, and so we don't have a lap from her yet either, and of course Harrison here. So we'll see how they do.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking at the timing sheets, Jaden Harrison not exactly setting it alight at the moment, so he's gonna come through on a decent lap, but it's not gonna be enough for the top of the timing sheets, I don't think, at this stage of the game. And you were having a little chat with the viewers about the track limits. You are correct, there are some very lenient track limits in some places around
indeed.
this circuit. Ooh, Jaden Harrison there, that
must be a disconnection.
It was.
Yes, it
was.
And I've seen that before. When you disconnect from the multiplayer, that's what happens. Just goes off into the barrier. Looks quite funny, but and then you just kind of poof off the map. But yeah, that's really unfortunate. Looks like Harrison's having troubles tonight with his internet.
Yeah, and it's gonna be, well, he did get a time in. It's a 26.3, which is good enough for 4th place at the moment, so at least it registered that time for him. So if he manages to get himself together, he can rejoin, knowing that he has at least 4th place at the moment, and
he's back.
He has reconnected after all, and has been demoted to 5th position by Mikhail Charles, who came through shortly thereafter. Go ahead.
So I have a question here, Chad, and it's about, and you know this is sim racing, so this is not real life. You can't just poof off to nothing in real life. So my question is, if Harrison has a disconnect before the end of the session, or maybe after the session, and the race is beginning, would he still be able to start in the position he qualified, or would he have to go to the back of the grid?
As long as he rejoins before the session actually starts, he will be allowed to keep his grid spot. Assetto Corsa does record it and allows him to take back the position that he had set the time for. So once he makes it back before the green flag flies for them to go racing, he should be all good. But he seemed to have had a moment there on his previous lap, which was on to be right there at the top. It was best of all in Sector 2 and personal best in Sector 1, looking like he could have challenged right for pole there immediately, but not sure why he abandoned that lap. We will see. He has headed back out, so we will check in with him again when he restarts a flyer.
I did notice it poofed there, and I was like, is that a disconnection, or was that just him going back to the pits? And yeah, I guess that's the answer. So that is certainly a question. We'll have him later on. But you know what? Tim Stoll, he is here. Someone was telling me in the pre-race that he wasn't going to be showing up, but he did manage to get here in time. And look at that, a 25.5. And he is looking at provisional pole position at the moment.
Absolutely, and the German likes being right there at the top in the fight for the victory, so certainly not going to be giving that up without a fight. I think his nearest rival would be Jaden Harrison, so if Jaden can get out to put in a lap, he could be on par to get somewhere in the mix between Barrera and Stahl, who both have improved. Barrera found about a 10th, but Stahl found 2. So here we are once again. Tim Stahl extending his advantage, or well, reclaiming his 4/10th advantage over Estefano Barrera, and that is a blistering time at this stage of the game.
And Barrera once again at the top there in the 369 car, and he is absolutely flying. That's fantastic to see once again. And it looks like Daniel Velez up in 3rd place. And you know what? Well, the race hasn't started yet, but you know what? He's consistently been quick, but he's not been the quickest, if you get what I mean. He hasn't been the fastest of everyone. So honestly, he is honestly the best of the rest in my book, and a fantastic lad as well. He's very active in the YouTube chat and such like that, so that's fantastic to see as well. So let's see how he does today. Maybe he will find that little bit of speed, that little bit of lap time that he's craving in the race here today.
Absolutely. What I give to Daniel Velez over some of the other drivers around is his consistency. So he can do quick enough lap times, but he can do them very consistently, and that usually puts him in a good position, because it's not just about being fast in a race. You have to also be able to do it on a consistent basis. But right now we're looking at what Jaden Harrison is about to do. He crosses the line right to 2nd place, just about half a 10th between himself and Stahl, and I did say he was going to be the one to challenge Tim for that pole position, and as it stands right now, advantage Stahl, but not by much.
0.06 of a second. That is very close. And now, are we going to get a counter from Tim Stahl, or will Harrison be able to even top that? Well, not on this lap, it doesn't seem to be, but and actually, and there's only 2 minutes to go, so maybe not. But Tim Stahl holding it, and you know what? Just in case, you might just want to put in one more quicker lap if you can, right before the end here, just to secure that pole position, because, well, just to be safe, you never want to park it in the pit lane and then have someone right to the very end of the session, you know, zeros on the clock, and have them pass the line and steal it away from you. It can really make the difference at the start of the race. So
absolutely, yeah. The top 3 all in the pits, but Barrera has been pipped by another member of JSRA Team A in Mikhail Charles. So right now, JSRA Team A has the advantage 1, 2, 3 with Noble Racing 4, 5, 6. Barrera ahead of Velez, ahead of Salazar. So it's advantage JSRA Team A in this championship fight at the moment. But it's a 40-minute race. A lot can happen in 40 minutes on a racetrack, as we have seen time and time again in the past. So let's not start counting who's going to collect what trophy yet. But right now it's looking good for JSRA Team A
Barrera.
and Barrera getting it wrong. I think we're going to see a lot of these drivers hang it up, because there's certainly not going to be enough time for some of them to make it back to the line to get a lap in. Raven Plummer has not been one that has had much to say in the fight overall.
Yeah.
She is down there in P7, but an interesting fact, having spoken to her a few times in the past, she tends to model her setups more towards race pace as opposed to quali pace. So she may yet come to life in the race, even if she is not right there in the mix at the top. I know these cars are very difficult to drive on their own. A track like Brands Hatch, where there is a lot of elevation change, and certainly not the smoothest track out there. It certainly can be quite difficult in these conditions. So we will see how it all unfolds, Mark, but we are just about at the end of qualifying.
Well, you know what? What you say might have some validity to it, because you know what? If you are becoming a real-life race car driver, and you know how sim racing is, and you have folks that obviously don't practice enough, they don't do enough testing with their car beforehand, and they come out and they have issues and they spin or they crash someone else or who knows what, and then all you have to do is just drive past them and you can go and get a fantastic finish. You see that in iRacing all the time as well. So honestly, I'm not surprised if you just want to hang back and you just want to make sure you have a nice solid car for the race, nice and stable, and then just work your way up the field. And that is a perfectly valid strategy for this, even if in real life that might not necessarily be the case. And Mikhail Charles with a huge shunt into the barrier.
Yeah, he was looking like he was on for a good lap there, through two sectors. He was just about a 10th off pole, was trying to improve on his personal best, maybe challenge the top two, but that certainly did not go according to plan for Mikhail Charles on that, his final flying lap. So this now takes us to the end of qualifying. All of the drivers have gone back to the pits, and we have JSRA Team A 1, 2, 3, and 7, Noble Racing 4, 5, and 6, Arteta Racing with Roger Keller down there in P8, and Kimani Eastman for JSRA Team B in P9, and that is going to be our starting grid when we go racing in a few minutes. But we will take a momentary intermission whilst we prepare for the race and be back with you in a few moments' time.
JSRA Team A dominating.
seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the safety car there leading the field away as we go on the formation lap. We will be having a rolling start for this 40-minute race. Stephen Stewart there, head of the JSRA, controlling the safety car, and as we get going, yeah, so Mark, we were having some conversations prior to this about all of the what's the word I'm looking for? All of the different storylines that will come of this race. What are your thoughts before we get started here with the action?
Well, I mean, JSRA Team A doing absolutely fantastic out there. I mean, they're at the top of the point, and it looks like they're at the top of the grid as well, starting grid, with Stahl, Harrison, Charles there. So they are doing absolutely fantastic. We're going to have to see if Team B can make a run through the field. We were mentioning in pre-race, you know, people are going to crash, something's going to happen. You know, it's sim racing, things can happen like that. Can you stay consistent? Can you get past all the carnage and work your way to the top? That's something you're going to have to try and do, even if you might not necessarily have the raw pace, which, like you were mentioning there, Chad, some folks, they might have some raw speed, but they might not necessarily be consistent enough to stay up at the top. So yeah, they're headed up to the top of the circuit now. Half a lap to go. Half a lap ready to, to get ready. They're already packed up here, so I'll let you take it away, Chad, and this should be a fantastic 40-minute race.
Absolutely. So we have 40 minutes of racing action to come your way. The leader currently controls the pace as the safety car has peeled off. We are in the final sector, so once they get back onto the start-finish straight, it will be time to go racing. And at the moment, we know Tim Stahl's strategy is going to be get out ahead of the pack and just try and disappear off into the distance. I'm not sure Jaden Harrison will be one to allow that, though. Jaden was just about half a tenth away from pole position, and I'm sure he will be looking to get into that fight. But at this point, these rivals need to be thinking about the team game. Right now, JSRA Team A has the advantage to Noble Racing, and they need to ensure that stays the case before they start fighting amongst themselves. But it's all well and good in theory. Emotions on the racetrack are a whole different ball game, and we are about to see how that unfolds.
Here we go.
So we do have the green lights, and immediately one of the Noble Racing drivers are looking to get into the mix. I'm not sure who that was as they are now going through turn one. It looks like Barrera was trying to put some pressure on Mikhail Charles, but at the moment, Mikhail holding station. Raven Plummer already up to P5, getting ahead of some of the guys at Noble Racing there. Daniel Velez coming back at her, and there is some contact.
Oh!
And that sees her progress in the early stages undone almost immediately, and she's gonna have her work cut out for her to get back into the mix before the race ends.
we are going to have to get a replay of that there, Chad. I didn't see the full thing on the camera view that I had, but Raven Plummer off the road, and I was just about to compliment the absolutely amazing start that she had. And then, of course, it just all gets undone and more right after that contact. And what a shame there to see. We're going to have to look and see what's happened there. I can't think that's going to be a racing incident, but we'll find out in a few seconds.
So unfortunately this is a set of Corsa which does not have the replay feature, but I did catch the full incident. It was her alongside Daniel Velez, and it may actually work out to just be a racing incident because Velez had the inside line and she kind of needed to turn in to make the corner, but in trying to do so, Velez was there and she had to bail out, which saw her off the track. But that being said, lap 1 down, and that is Barrera off into the grass there out of turn 1, and it's once again advantage JSRA Team A, currently running 1, 2, 3, and Raven Plummer has even regained a few positions over Barrera and Roger Keller to be back up into P7. So right now, it's looking good for JSRA Team A, with Noble Racing looking to kind of settle into their race at this stage of the game, as Barrera there took a tumble down the order and has his work cut out for him now. And like we did say, Mark, it's going to be chopping and changing the entire race.
Yeah, absolutely right. Paddock Hill and what was the next one? Hellwood Hill, just absolutely eating those drivers. It's so hard to keep it on the limit, keep it on the curbing there, and not go off into the sand beyond, and you just lose all of that momentum you gained if you go off there. And so unfortunately Barrera, the latest victim of that, but well, he's a quick driver, Chad. You know he's going to get back up through the field once again. And he's not that far off. Well, 3.9 seconds it says on my end from Keller. As another two go off. You see Jaden Harrison there. Exactly what I was just saying there, Chad. And now they're side by side with Daniel Velez into the corner. And what a fantastic bit of action we have now based off that mistake. And so that's what you absolutely want to avoid. Jaden Harrison into second place there, and he has a lot of work to do to get up to Tim Stoll, but that is just something you need to avoid, is those two hills right after corner number 1. And of course the rest of the track as well, trying to make those apexes, for example, right here, as we're going through with Daniel Velez, you want to hit those marks just right, don't want to go off into the grass, the barrier, or the sand, and be consistent, guys. We have a long race to go.
Absolutely, yeah, no, in the early stages here, we're seeing the mistakes already. Jaden Harrison there having to defend P2 after making that error in turn 1, but there was a much bigger error for the likes of Mikhail Charles that finds himself down in P6, having been 3rd at the start of the race. And Jaden Harrison now feeling the pressure from Daniel Velez, who is not one to let it go that easily once he can sniff the taste of the podium. And we did say he may not be the quickest driver out there, but he certainly has the consistency that makes him dangerous to the rest of the pack, and already up into P3 with some of the quicker guys around him tumbling down the order, as you see him there fighting a bit of counter steer through the apex of the Druids. It's tricky conditions out there for these drivers at this stage of the race, Mark.
Absolutely right there, Chad. Barrera, I believe, just at the fastest lap of the race there. I saw purple show up on the ACTV, if I'm not mistaken, and 2.3 back of Keller now, so he is trying to work his magic. As we just saw a pass there, Mikhail Charles going up into 5th position over Eastman, and they'll head down to the corner here. Oh, he's not defending it, but interestingly we didn't have a lunge from Eastman either, so he's not looking yet to go for the big dive bomb into the corner for the position. Little early for that, so I guess actually compliments to him for that. You know, he has some poise, but he is going to have to try and work his way past it now. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, Charles getting that position away from Eastman. Eastman is not going to pick a fight outside of his weight class. Right now, he knows he's not on the pace of Mikhail Charles, which is probably why he did not attempt that move. That would have also been an awkward corner at which to attempt that move, because
Very.
it's
Yeah.
a trail braking zone as opposed to an actual braking zone. So you stick a nose in there and somebody's going to come out of that corner worse for wear. So I will all credit to Kimani. He is a very level-headed racing driver. He does keep his cool and picks his spots very carefully. So good on him to not try anything too out of the structured playbook on that particular maneuver. But right now, looking up and down the field, Barrera is going to start making some moves soon. The first on the chopping block is Roger Keller, and he has him squarely in his sights. Lots of work to do for Barrera here this evening.
He just set the quickest lap again at 26.851. So he is absolutely, like you said, Chad, he is next on the chopping block, Keller. And so is he going to defend it, or does he know he's quicker and let them by? Well, we're going to find out probably before the end of this lap. So Barrera, he has a lot of work to do, though. He counts up all those gaps. And that must be well over 10 seconds now, I think, to the leader, Tim Stahl. So if he is going to be looking for points here tonight, and for his team, importantly as well, he has to get his move on right now. So there he goes up into 8th position, and next up will be Raven Plummer, and that is going to be coming up rather soon.
Absolutely, it was a brilliant bit of a switchback maneuver there from Estefano Barrera on Roger Keller. Roger tried defending that inside line, just ran the car a little deep, and that is Eastman pointing in the wrong direction coming out of the Druids. And that's another position gained for Barrera, who is trying to do damage limitation at this stage of the game, having made that error in the early laps. But yeah, he is making progress, and I can see Raven Plummer up there in the distance, and I'm sure he can too. Roger Keller falling away ever so slightly as Barrera got by. So we will now observe his progress towards the drivers up ahead. Mikhail Charles looks to be putting some heavy pressure on Javier Salazar though, and he might be looking to also get back into the fight, having also made a mistake of his own in the early stages.
We didn't quite get to see how Eastman went in the wrong direction there, but I imagine it would have been on his own accord, some sort of spin or something like that. We'll have to get confirmation from anyone else who might have seen it, but I can only imagine that was on his own accord there. I didn't see anyone close to him.
Yeah, I imagine that was just a little bit too eager on the power on the exit of this hairpin that both these drivers are now. And you know, as you see Mikhail Charles there having a bit of a snap, if you aren't able to apply the power very gracefully through that particular corner, you tend to lose the rear, and these cars with all of their downforce, once you kind of lose it, it's not really easy to save. But Mikhail Charles must be feeling quite frustrated at the moment, as he has been applying pressure to Salazar now for about 2 laps, and he certainly seems to have the pace advantage. But around a track like Brands Hatch, there aren't many obvious overtaking zones, so you just have to kind of get creative, like we saw Barrera do with Keller, and you know, just create your own opportunity, maybe force a driver off their usual racing line and give them something to think about, and put them in a position where they have to yield that spot. But he is falling away as we were having that conversation, just a smidge from the back of Salazar. So maybe still not found the consistency in the car yet, Mikhail Charles, and that's causing him some issues here in the early stages.
Well, he is slower by I think that was 0.7 of a second that previous lap to Salazar, so that is why. And looks like everyone's kind of settling in now. Barrera now up to 6th. I say apart from Barrera, because he is absolutely flying around the track at the moment. Actually, that's Mikel Charles going off. Excuse me, but that only helps Barrera coming up to him. So it is settling in now. Apart from one or two very quick drivers who they know their way around. And I was going to say another thing, but I think it's now just left my mind. Oh yes, and that was about oversteer. If you like oversteery setups, you have to be careful on this track because it can be very, very easy to snap oversteer, like you were showing earlier, off of the circuit, and like you say, Chad, it can go a little bit wrong.
Absolutely, as we saw Mikel Charles there, he seems to be overdriving trying to get by Salazar. We saw him run very wide there on the exit of, I believe that was turn 7, and it is looking a little on... I'm trying to find the word here to be nice about it, but it doesn't look very tidy at the moment for Mikel Charles out there. He is struggling just a tad to keep it consistent, and it is costing him here in his battle with Salazar, who is clearly quicker than, but just cannot seem to put it together consistently to get that move done. He gets very close and then tries to maybe overdrive just a tad, and it costs him in the battle with Salazar.
Well, Chad, we have to be nice for the sponsors here, so we do have to find those words. As much as we would like to bash them all day, we can't do that here on the live show, unfortunately. So yes, all compliments, all positive from here in the commentary booth. So honestly, I don't have too much more to say at the moment. Just Daniel Velez back of Harrison a little bit, following him. Tim Stoll, and just a moment ago, he just set a new quickest lap of the race. I think that was a 26.8 something. I have to go and look back later. I don't have actually a 26.4 now from Velez. So yeah, he's gone even quicker than that by a tenth. Very quick at the front of the field. And then it goes back a little bit to Salazar. It's kind of all spread out. Raven Plummer with a big gap to Barrera now. And he just keeps charging up the field. So that's kind of my assessment at the moment here, Chad, as we are nearly halfway through the race.
Absolutely, and the mistakes from Charles repeatedly in this battle between himself and Salazar are just kind of gifting Barrera the opportunity to get back into this fight, because Salazar is not exactly setting the timesheets alight, and Mikel Charles tends to get right there. They battle for a bit, which slows them both down, and that is going to play Barrera right back into this, maybe in the next 4 or 5 laps to get back into that particular fight, as we are still on board with Daniel Velez. Charles now once again right with Salazar, and we will see how far back Estefano Barrera is when we get onto the next lap. The gap now 4.8 seconds as these two drivers keep slowing each other down. We're gonna see how quickly that gap tumbles, but Mikel Charles either needs to get this move done or figure out what he needs to do differently to prevent from Barrera just catching and passing. But you were mentioning Tim. Tim did exactly what I thought he would have expected to do, and just kind of checked out from the start of this race, running out there in P1 comfortably, 4.5 seconds. Jaden Harrison has closed the gap ever so slightly in the last few laps, but I think given that Tim has the measure, he can now just kind of relax, unwind, and save the tires, as we are looking at another mistake here from Salazar and Charles in this battle for P4, and that's gonna see Barrera re-enter this fight very, very quickly if these two keep at it.
Oh yes, you're absolutely right. This is I don't know. Again, it's to find the right words. It's a cracking battle. Absolutely, but also the driving standards. I mean, you folks have to be really, really careful here. There is 23 minutes to go in this race. You shouldn't be going off the track here. You shouldn't be misjudging your points. Learn how to follow the driver in front of you here, because that is so important in racing, unless you want to bin it and maybe bin your rival here as well. You just absolutely do not want to do that for either of you.
We'll see if that's a bit of a commentator's curse there coming to pass in a few moments' time, because Mikhail Charles is right there and he may want to look to make that move by the time we get to turn 1. Let's see what they're looking at. He does have a look, decides better of it, sticks with him, and he is certainly going to try and have a look here at the hairpin. Takes a look, Salazar covers off the line, and he's going to have to just choose very carefully his battle. But Barrero is also struggling behind, it seems, because he has had very many an opportunity with all of the mistakes from these two drivers to close that gap. We see him there in the rearview mirrors, but it's still 4.8 seconds, which is what it was 2 laps ago. So he is not catching at the rate we expected him to at this stage of the game. Maybe he's also struggling, but Mikhail Charles looking at the back of that rear wing for Javier Salazar for about 3 laps consistently now, not able to do anything about it. He keeps having a look, maybe hoping that the shuffle will distract Salazar, but Javier Salazar maintaining his composure to hold on to that position at the moment.
You know, I don't think that was a commentator's curse, Chad. I think it was a commentator's comment or critique instead. So, they're coming into the final couple of corners now, and well, you know what? Maybe it just was, Chad. Oh, unbelievable. Mikhail Charles there, and that's going to give Barrera 5th. And so, just as I was going to say, you know, they were doing a little bit better, they were listening, and then the shunts right there, and yeah, I mean, the heart goes out to
Charles.
Charles there, but I mean, honestly, he kind of had it coming to him as well, following behind. So, I'm just gonna be quiet now.
Yeah, no, it didn't happen when I thought it was gonna happen, but as soon as you brought it back up, there it went. And it's just one of those things. You did have it called correctly, though. It did look like they were a little bit untidy following each other. They were tripping over each other and creating a little bit of havoc between themselves, and right then and there it all came undone for Mikhail Charles running into the back of Javier Salazar.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know, it's probably going to be the first of many now, I bet you. I mean, you did mention to me back during the Porsche Cup that you did say you as well were a commentator's curse now and again, so I suppose it's now fitting for me to have my moments as well. So I guess that it's how it is sometimes. But, well, we'll see what he can do now. He's kind of a little bit in Barrera's position, but much later in the race now. Have to make his way past Keller and then Plummer again, and I don't know, man. I don't think that's going to happen now. Not this late, not enough to catch Barrera up, that's for sure. So Barrera keeps on going, 6 seconds to Salazar. Honestly, I would not be surprised if he gets on the podium here, and that would be a super, super comeback once again.
I'm not sure if the podium is on the cards at the moment for Barrera, barring catastrophe.
I wouldn't count him out.
Barring
9 seconds, you know what? I wouldn't count him out, Chad, honestly.
Barring catastrophe from anyone on the podium, because the podium drivers have been very consistent all throughout this race. Stahl there leading the gap now to Harrison, 3.8 seconds. So Jaden is taking some time out of Tim Stahl, but not at a rate of knots that will see him maybe get on the back of him before long. With 18.5 minutes to go, we will see if that fight ensues as Jaden Harrison sets the fastest lap of the race. So maybe he is getting the hurry on now, trying to close that gap and maybe take the fight to Stahl. But I think Tim Stahl has it measured and can maintain that pace and would still come out on top. And Daniel Velez behind also has been very consistent throughout this race. Clearly didn't make a mistake at some point because he is now 4 seconds off the back of Jaden Harrison. But the podium sitters have looked very good. Barrera, I think, is looking at a P4, possibly a podium. Like you said, we can't necessarily count him out, but at this stage of the game, he will certainly catch Salazar, all things being equal.
Hey, we've seen this before. Absolutely do not count us out. Yeah, not at all.
Yep, so he will get to Salazar, I think, in a few laps' time. But as to getting further, that's going to take a mega drive from Barrero to get onto the podium. But Charles here now has started his comeback tour, and he is looking at Roger Kello 1.8 seconds up the road, and will certainly need to get close to and past Roger Kello very, very quickly if he wants to have a shot at maybe P6, who is Raven Plummer. Raven has not had the easiest race, but she has kept it on the track and is just doing her very best. And that has seen her, and as I said that, it looks like she had a moment there coming out of turn 8, as she will now be tumbling down the order there. She is on the left, getting passed by Roger Kello. So maybe that's my moment.
You know, well, not as bad, I'd say, in my opinion. But yeah, Plummer not having a very good race. Unfortunate. Maybe it's just because I showed up. Who knows? But it is sad to see. Yeah, it was the 35 the last lap with that moment. So yeah, very unfortunate. But yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is. It's racing, is how that is, right? Things do happen. So you can't knock yourself too much over it, and you just come back stronger the next race. So honestly, not to be discouraged at all. You know, that's racing. Things happen. So yeah, that's how that is. And that means Keller is now back in a battle here with Mikhail Charles. So, oh my goodness! As we were saying that, Mikhail Charles, and I don't know if maybe that was a multiplayer glitch, but I saw a huge moment there.
That was a huge moment for Mikhail Charles, just having a bit of a snap coming out of turn 4, I believe that is, and after having that snap, just found himself in the wall, and it's just chopping and changing between these 4 positions from Keller to, I guess, Charles. That those 3 positions, these drivers are having a torrid time out there in these Praga Cup cars, and it is, I guess, the car and track combo is just a little too much for these guys, and they are struggling at the moment. That was a huge moment for Mikhail Charles.
And maybe that was just the Assetto Corsa being dramatic, because as you know, you don't have the crunch as you have in the other sims, so they just bounce off the wall. But I honestly think that might have been the biggest crash that we've had in JSRA Chase for Pace this, well, at least since I've came on, since Porsche Cup and now here in Praga Cup. That might have been the largest one I've seen.
Yeah, that was a huge one, as you saw the state of his car after. He should be fine to continue, as damage is set to about 30%, so it's going to be mostly downforce that he is struggling with. And of course, in these cars, that's a lot, but he will be okay to continue the race, despite that huge moment that would have, under normal damage circumstances, probably seen him retire that car immediately.
100%. That would have been a full course yellow and probably a 20-minute cleanup if that was real life. 100%. So yeah, it's good that this is Assetto Corsa. We don't have to worry about such things. Although, to be honest, I wouldn't be terribly against it if there was a mod for such things. To simulate real-life circumstances. Maybe not good for the entertainment factor, though. So, yeah, he will carry on as if nothing had happened. Apart from the damage, I suppose, that might be on his vehicle at the moment. And we all know the assessor, of course, the damage model is not exactly the best, not exactly realistic. But you can imagine, like you mentioned, that front splitter and well, front in general must be completely obliterated. So he's going to be lacking in the downforce significantly now. And yeah, well, I'm looking at the gap to Raven Plummer, 3.3. I can't imagine he's going to be making up time too easily there now. So yeah, we carry on. 13 minutes to go, and Tim Stoll now up to 6.7 seconds, Chad. So he is now, unfortunately, I guess for entertainment purposes, heading off into the sunset here at Brands Hatch.
Absolutely, yeah. It looks like Jaden had a moment there because he did clear Velez by about 5 seconds, and now the gap down to 2. So Jaden having a small moment, nothing of major note, maybe just a little bit of a wide moment to cost him some time or something else in that kind of nature. But at the moment, Moreira right on the back of Salazar. It took him some time to get there, but he has gotten there, and the times are falling away now as we move into the latter stages of the race, and the tire wear is picking up drastically. So this is where we separate the men from the boys, because who can keep the car on the track knowing full well that it was difficult enough when you had grippy tires. Now these tires are struggling a bit, and around a track like Brands Hatch that depends so much on the grip, it's gonna be time to see who can keep it going in the right direction. But between Salazar and Barrera, are they gonna go full on brawl, or will Salazar let him by under the guise of, you know, the team structure? You know, maybe there is the possibility of getting into the mix for the driver ahead if anything catastrophic happens to the top 3, and I'm sure Barrera would want to be the driver on poise for that position. So
100%, absolutely. And so yeah, they're just kind of going around following each other now. But you're absolutely right. If you're going for points here, you have to let them by. You know, you normally get the phone up from the pit from the team garage, and they say, hey, let this guy by, he's quicker than you. And you know, back in the day they'd have a code word for it. Nowadays you just tell them openly on the radio.
Yep.
But here, well, we do have actually race communications here in the Discord, so I can imagine they're probably talking to each other and they're probably discussing it right now. So but it's amongst each other, not necessarily a team captain per se. Well, it looks like he might be letting him by now. So, yeah, they must be listening to us surely there, because he just let Barrera by, and absolutely the right decision. And 2.8, 2.8 seconds to Velez. And what did I say, Chad? He's on for the podium, and he's got 10 minutes to go and pass him. So look at that.
I think you're looking at the wrong time there, Mark. It's actually 7.8 seconds between Barrera and Velez.
Oh, excuse me. I was looking at the wrong time there. Excuse me. That was actually the gap from Velez to Harrison. I'm sorry, but point still stands. Although that's much tougher. That's much tougher than 2.8. Yes, absolutely. But I mean, the point still stands there. He can go full charge now with a clear track ahead. 9 minutes 47 seconds to go. Go and get it, boys.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, you know, if anything should happen to any of the drivers up ahead, he is now poised to reclaim a podium position, having been well out of the race in the early stages. Raven Plummer, whilst we were watching this, lost a position to Mikhail Charles, so Mikhail Charles back up into P7. Raven Plummer looking like she made a mistake there and giving that position back to Mikhail Charles, and it keeps chopping and changing between P6 and P8, those drivers struggling with the cars at this stage of the game. But right now we are watching to see what's gonna happen here between the drivers at the front and Estefano Barrera, who has been on a charge to recover himself from that early mistake.
Yeah, and unfortunate for Eastman as well. Well back of everyone at the tail end of the field, and don't feel bad, just come back stronger next time, and I think it's JSRA Team B, if I'm not mistaken.
You are
It,
correct.
I am correct, thank you. It is how it is, but you know what? You're participating. You're getting acclimated with the car around all these tracks. So don't feel too bad. Just keep your head down, keep learning, and don't feel too bad at all about what should be at this point of the race pretty aggravating feeling, I'd say, inside of you. Going around the track and seeing that gap of 13 seconds to Raven Plummer, and even much longer to the front. So yeah, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad about it at all.
Absolutely. We were on board there with Tim Stahl for a little bit as he has just been flying under the radar as much as one can from the lead of the race. He's just been out in front having the time of his life. 7.2 seconds between himself and Jaden Harrison. Daniel Velez a further 3.6 back. Estefano Barrera, having recovered, has not quite pulled away from Salazar the way I expected. The gap just about hovering near a second, but Barrera back and forth and looking poised to try and make further moves, but at this stage of the game it may be a little too late. 7 minutes and a little bit left to go, but right now we're on board with Raven Plummer, who is not falling away from Mikhail Charles. She has stayed close enough that, as history will tell us, the mistakes from these drivers will possibly see another change in position between the likes of Keller, Charles, and Plummer at this stage of the game.
Yeah, well, you see, and off again, and I was about to say, Charles was the one with the moment, the big shunt, and Plummer only had small moments off the track, but not necessarily in the barrier. Well, now that has happened, so, yeah, Mikhail Charles squarely in 7th now, and that's really unfortunate, but yeah, I was going to make that point in saying, well, Raven Plummer should be a hell of a lot quicker, considering that fact. But unfortunately now, even with that, now he can, Charles that is, just sail off well into 7th position.
Absolutely.
And oh no, Jaden Harrison!
Yeah, while you were talking there, I saw that he looks to have disconnected, and that puts Barrera onto the podium, and what was a JSRA Team A 1, 2, 3 is now a JSRA Team A 1 and a Nova Racing 2, 3, 4, which is definitely going to swing the points into Nova Racing's favor, and that is unfortunate.
Changes it.
That is unfortunate for JSRA Team A.
That is so unfortunate for Jaden Harrison, and I can't. And I was mentioning this. I was mentioning this in the, I think it was the practice, way at the beginning of the show. Is that you do not want a disconnect here? And I know we were talking about like how things would go setting the grid, but in terms of the race, that's even worse than that, because now it's all over. It's DNF. The current, well, I don't think you can come back in, and even if you could, you would have lost so much it wouldn't be worth it. That is just so incredibly unfortunate, and that's the very, very big downside of sim racing. It's not like real life where you can't just poof out like that. You DNF in other ways. So that's just incredibly unfortunate, and that changes everything with these points.
Yeah, at that point it was looking good for JSRA Team A, but right now Nova Racing looks to be picking up the haul of the points that is required to take this championship back in hand, and the momentum swings once again. And I am seeing in the chat where some of the comments are saying that Jaden was using mobile data as he is without an internet connection, and it seems that that's where that kind of came undone for him. But that's not how you want to see this championship end. You would have liked for it to have been a case where it happened out on track, but this is part of any form of racing, really. In real life it could have been a mechanical failure. In sim racing it's an internet failure, but unfortunate to see it end that way. However, part of racing.
Yeah, absolutely not how you would like that to end at all. And yeah, honestly, you said exactly what I was going to say there. So, yeah, well, we carry on then. 3 minute 40 to go. And, well, I mean, that's not really how I wanted Barrera to hit the podium, but he is going to be on the podium if this stands. So, an absolutely super drive for him tonight. And, obviously, when we interview him, he's probably going to say, well, I might not have deserved it. And you know how he's always bashing himself down in the interviews. I think he does absolutely deserve it regardless. I would have liked to have seen him fight for it, but we're not going to get that. And, well, and just keep couple of laps, keep yourself planted on the racetrack, don't go off. And obviously, you're not going to be catching Daniel Velez, but that's okay because third is fantastic for his team and these points. So, yeah, that's honestly my driver of the day by far. And Tim Stoll obviously doing fantastic as well. I don't think I've seen as good of a performance from him as I've seen tonight. So he is also a candidate for driver of the race as well.
Yeah, as you said it, I thought about it, and I was thinking he has quietly flown under the radar, having driven this brilliant race. We haven't had to check in on him at all because he's just been checked out at the front, doing everything he needs to do to take the victory home to this point, and it's looked very good for him from jump. But Estefano Barrera has had to do some serious work here this evening to get into this position.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, like you said, he wouldn't have wanted to get onto the podium this way. He would have certainly wanted to have earned it out on track, but a podium's a podium, and once you get there, nobody can take that away from you. You certainly did everything that he needed to do to put himself in a position for that to be the case should anything like this have occurred. So you take nothing away from Estefano Barrera having done this recovery drive all the way from the back of the pack in the early stages of the race to now be P3 on the road on merit for the most part. I mean, can't say much more than that for the kind of driver that he is.
I would say for 99% of that race, he absolutely deserved it. Absolutely. Yeah, and so minute 12 to go. Final lap coming up soon. Where is Tim Stoll on the racetrack? I think he has passed the line. So this should be, if I'm not mistaken here, Chad, the final lap of the race.
Yeah, so he has just crossed the line, but I do believe, I could be wrong, but there should be plus one lap, so we might have one more lap to go when time elapses. We will see, we'll get the notification when the timer hits 0 in 40 seconds, and we will
I wasn't aware of that, my apologies.
That's alright. But yes, we are on the final stages of the race, and right now it's looking like Noble Racing has done what they needed to do with their drivers to secure this championship, barring, you know, whatever stewards investigations need to come. I don't recall seeing any major incidents, but I'm sure when we get the full steward report, we will see how this
There might have been the one incident I do remember fairly early on in the race, and I don't remember
with
who
Velez
it was.
and Plomo.
Yes, I think so. That maybe that one, and we didn't really see how that. Well, you saw how it went down. I didn't see it, but you thought there was racing incident. There might possibly be some validity there for a steward's decision on that.
Absolutely, but sorry to bring the attention back. I was wrong, and that was the final lap. Tim Stoll has crossed to take the victory. Coming home second is Luis Daniel Velez, and Estefano Barrera earning that podium. With Jaden Harrison's disconnection coming home in P3. Javier Salazar crosses the line in P4, and Roger Keller, despite a very difficult day in the office, is going to fight Mikhail Charles all the way to the line for P5. Mikhail Charles looking to come home in P6. Keller gets through the final corner without issue, so it's going to be P5 and 6 for Keller and Charles respectively. And a torrid day in the office for Raven Plummer having a very rough go of it out there this afternoon, will come home in P7. And the last driver to cross the line is Kimani Eastman, who is just about getting to the final corner now. And he will come around to be the last of the finishers. Jaden Harrison once again suffering an internet failure, which led to his disconnection, and that is unfortunate. So JSRA Team A 1, Noble Racing 234, Artito in P5, and then JSRA Team A 6 and 7, Team B, Kimani Eastman coming home in P8. And that might be the way that Noble Racing takes the top spot in the team championship here at Brands Hatch at the finale of the Praga Cup.
We're going to have to crunch the numbers there, but yeah, I think you were absolutely right there, Chad. And what a fantastic finish we've had then. What a great way to end it, right? With the Noba Racing store taking that. And it is a really unfortunate way for it to happen. I know, and if you are JSRA Team A, you have to be absolutely sobbing right now with what's happened with Jaden Harrison. But hold your heads high. You did fantastic. You kept up the battle right to the very end, and by no means should you be disappointed at all.
Absolutely, and as the drivers are heading back to the pits, we will start preparing for some interviews. I believe we will be talking to Tim Stahl.
Oh, Eastman has missed the pit. Oh,
there's some.
I guess they're allowed to do that because they're all celebrating out on the front straightaway, and normally they don't do that, I don't think.
Yeah, but, no, they're out there doing donuts here at the finale, and who cares if they hit each other at this point?
I'm not the steward, but I am absolutely okay with that. I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah. So we will be preparing to talk to the drivers. Let me just get things prepped here whilst we arrange to start talking to those drivers. So first up on the list, I believe, is Estefan. Oh, we have Daniel Velez with us, actually.
Second place, yeah.
Daniel, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. How are you?
We're doing pretty good. How are you feeling after that particular race?
Like kinda, you know.
So.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it was a challenging one, I'm sure, but you managed to come home P2 with Jaden Harrison disconnection there. Overall, it looked like a very challenging race, given the track and car combination. How do you feel with all of that considered?
Yeah, so for me, you know, the car was great. I finally made like a setup by myself, and it worked awesome because I was not being able to drive the car previously. I like the car to be, you know, to rotate more. The previous one's setups were just going straight, which doesn't suit my driving style. But today was great. I almost made even a faster lap. I was going for 26.0 at that moment, but then the tires say no. And yeah, you know, then following Jaden was kind of risky because he was jumping around, you know. I think so. I think that the hit that he had with Mihail was due to that, because he disappeared and then he appeared back, you know, back of him, and then yeah. So when I was behind him, I was being cautious. I was actually not attempting to go for it because, you know, I didn't want it to damage my whole race. So yeah, that's sad about Jaden because he was doing an awesome also.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know if you knew, but he was jumping around because apparently he was using mobile internet for his connection. So obviously that would have made him very, very jumpy indeed. So that's so unfortunate to hear.
Yeah, that's sad because he was doing great. You know, he had the pace. He definitely had the pace.
Absolutely, and also my question is, You are one of the most consistent drivers in the field, which I have to commend you for. Now, you couldn't, in this race anyway, catch up to Tim Stahl, who just was absolutely fantastic this time. But I mean, are you at least happy with your consistency, even if you might not overall think the race for you went completely as you would like, completely to plan? Like, are you happy you have a one up on the other drivers, being that consistent one that can always put in a decent result?
Yeah, no, it was a tough one. I almost lose the car also because I'm sometimes I having an issue that the screen of the game just freeze for 1 second or a bit more, and I almost lost the car. So, I very scared to that happen again. But yeah, the times were consistent. Except for mistake one time to time. But yeah, it was great. Maybe if on the start line we were able maybe to not lose a stall, uh, then maybe we could have been fighting there. In the first turn, we had to all brake a lot, and team uh, knows how to manage that. He did great on that. I was not able to see what happened, but I do see here that Stefano had to brake a lot, and then I had to brake a lot, and I almost took Javier to the outside. But and then from that moment, Stahl just did it awesome. His consistency was also awesome. He did a great race.
Yeah, he did fantastic tonight. Yeah, and we'll be talking to him in a minute as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But Daniel, overall, it looks like at this point, Noble Racing may have taken the overall team championship. Not quite sure. We'll have to crunch the numbers, but based on that finish, that might have been the case. You guys have been very consistent all championship. Any thoughts on the overall performance of your team?
Yeah, no, it was great. We feel kind of sad due to missing all of the remaining drivers. We are pretty sure that maybe we will have a closer championship finish. I do not think that we were able to catch on this one. I think that we will be losing the championship for very low points, like maybe 3 or 4 points or things like that. So yeah, that's why I was telling you like so because the race was great. The second place was great, but the champion to lose the championship just for 3 to 4 points is kind of sad.
Okay, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, take from it what you will, but certainly as a team overall, you guys did look strong for the entirety of the championship. And like you said, maybe with the consistent numbers, it could have been a better finish. But congratulations nonetheless, Daniel, and we look forward to seeing more of you in future events.
Thank you so much. The championship was awesome. The racing was awesome. Thank you so much for inviting us and looking to race more with you guys.
Thank you.
So that was Luis Daniel Velez, or P2 finisher. I am not seeing Barrera, so I guess we will be moving to Tim Stahl. Tim, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, congratulations there, sir. Looks like you're out for a Sunday afternoon stroll with the way you dominated that race. Your thoughts on the race overall?
Yeah, race was really good. I'm finally sort of out of my hole. I'm not proud of the last 3 rounds. Pace was there, but I kept throwing it away. I don't know why. But it does seem fixed. And yeah, got a good start, got away, and had my teammates behind me, so I wasn't too worried. Because I had 2 people between me and the Colombians, so I could just drive my race and manage my tires a bit when I saw the gap, and yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, maybe we should name Stroll instead. But yeah, honestly, fantastic race today. I really wasn't expecting you to, well, perform as well as you did. So congratulations with that. And obviously, I know with your teammates not being as far up in the race standings here as you are here, but so you know you're very much pulling the weight. But what do you have to say about Jaden Harrison and all the other folks who you know are towards the back of the grid tonight? After their finish with you know their inconsistency. What do you have to say about your teammates?
Well, so Jaden told me earlier today that he had internet issues, which obviously sucks because, you know, today is the final round of the championship. Kind of, it's kind of really sad because, well, you saw what happened. I think, did he disconnect? I saw it, but
Yeah, he
I
did.
don't.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's very unfortunate. Um,
yeah,
and I saw him also pushing a lot. I don't know if he was comfortable with the pace or not. Um, I do trust Jaden to push and not crash, but it seemed that just with the lag and the bad internet connection got the better of him, and yeah, he unfortunately eventually had an incident with another teammate and then
yeah.
disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he was very quick. There's nothing wrong with his pace. Obviously, I can't speak for him, so I don't know what he'd have to say. But yeah, the disconnect just really unfortunate. And I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that might have swung the championship. It could have been a different result otherwise. So I feel absolutely terrible for you guys. I really do. And hold your heads high because. That was absolutely fantastic from you tonight. So don't feel badly at all. You did absolutely fantastic this season.
Yeah, I don't know where the championship stands now with the unfortunate situation today within the team, but I do hope we still get it. We had a bit of a lead, and winning's always worth a few good points more. So I really do hope that that makes a difference and that we can still win. I'm definitely gonna get my calculator out right now
Yeah,
after the interview.
yeah. What we're hearing is that it's extremely close at the moment. So
Yeah, I'm guessing.
yeah, yeah. We don't know for sure, but we're gonna find out very shortly. So
Yeah,
I'll let Chad let us know. I'm sure they're looking at it right now. Him and his cousin Stephen.
absolutely, absolutely. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, congrats, Tim. It was a good drive from you here this evening. That was quite well managed and controlled. And as always, it's a pleasure to watch your race, and we look forward to seeing you in future events.
Thank you very much, and yes, with my pleasure.
Absolutely. So what I'm getting, Mark, is that well, I haven't actually done all of the calculation, but it seems like JSRA Team A might still yet come out on top overall.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so yeah, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, to our social media for the official point standings. This is, of course, just banter between the commentators based on
Well,
what we
well,
had
hang on
picked.
though, but hang on though. What if they do protest the incidents earlier? They have you know some ground to protest something that has happened, and it does get overturned. Could that possibly still hang the championship in the balance? Then with that, might we have to wait for the stewards' decision?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we do. So we will wait on the official report following everything that unfolds in the aftermath of this event to get the official point standings to see where this championship wraps up. So definitely stay tuned to our social media. I'm sure all of the drivers will be protesting anything that they could possibly protest. Uh,
You know, we might have to interview Nicholas Donald and see what he has to say about it.
well, he has some work to do after this one, I am sure, in order to determine what the end result will be. But once again, our social media will certainly have all of the updates for you in the next few days.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for this. This was
Sorry,
fantastic,
sorry. I
and
believe we're being joined by El Presidente before we go, just to kind
oh,
of.
okay, yep, sorry.
So I believe we have Mr. Stephen Stewart with us now. El Presidente, can you hear me?
Hi, good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right, man. Again, what a race, gentlemen. And honestly, one, very happy that I didn't have to spend the evening in the commentary booth by myself. So it was definitely a pleasure listening to you two this evening. As you said, we will definitely be looking over the point structure after this evening. We will have a 24-hour delay as we wait for any stewarding reports, and then we'll go over that. So, as you said earlier, we'll definitely be taking a look, and we'll be broadcasting all of the official results on our social media at JSRA official. But nonetheless, I just want to take the opportunity to just one thank not just the fans but thank the drivers who stood it out for so long in this series. I mean, it was a long series. We started in February and now it's July. So, hats off to the drivers. The ones that stood till the end to support the JSRA. I must say, if you guys are listening, and I'm sure we'll be talking many, many times in the very near future. Thank you guys so much. You were an absolute spectacle to watch and behold, and it just goes to show the talent that this, not just the Caribbean, but this sport can hold. So, hats off to the drivers. I'm looking forward to the revamping of our league. I'm not sure if we mentioned it earlier, but we just want to make the fans know that we are going to be taking a brief intermission for the Saturday series as we start preparing for our national qualifiers. So that should begin in early August. So you can look out for us on our social medias. And then we do have a surprise event at the end of August, a mini
Ooh.
endurance that you, Mark, should be relatively aware of with, well, not the event as yet because we haven't shared it as yet,
Well,
but
we don't know quite yet, but I'm intrigued.
definitely. So we'll be having a Le Mans race,
Oh.
mini endurance on Assetto Corsa with GT Panama, some friends from Argentina, and we're going to use the time to build up the roster. So we have a very strong grid. The cars that we've chosen, very fun, very exciting. So we're excited to see what is to come in the future. We have the Formula 4 Championship tomorrow, the grand finale at Spa-Francorchamps. And as I said earlier, I am very excited for that one and the future with the JSRA using the iRacing platform. The racing has been something to behold. The talent, even Mr. Dillon over here with two very poor past races, sorry to call you out like that. But nonetheless, has been showcasing his talent out there in the iRacing platform. And nonetheless, the Sunday races have been very epic, to say the least. So, again, although we are going to be taking a slight break, to revamp the league. We are still going to be racing. We'll still be having unofficial races streamed where we can to keep you entertained. And as always, we just want to put forth our Caribbean Touring Car Championship as we will be preparing for the Germany Tour. We have a new hybrid system taking the place of the push to pass system, and we did a test race last night, and what a race that was. So just to give a little bit of hints and tips just to what the JSRA is going to be coming with in the next few months. But I just wanted to take the opportunity again to thank you guys, especially the commentators. It was absolutely brilliant listening to you gentlemen tonight. The fans, we are very apologetic for the internet drops. It seems like, as you saw with Jaden, unfortunately, our internet providers, I will not call any names and get myself in any trouble, are having their own troubles themselves. And in the area, it seems like there's just been some very bad drops. So, we hope that that will be rectified by tomorrow so that we can get back on our feet. But nonetheless, when all fails, we do still stand firm that God has everything in His hands, and we stood forth, the stream got back, and the quality of racing was just there and something to be behold. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was a mouthful. Thank you so much for joining. That was my 2 cents. Awesome job, Mark. Awesome job, Chad. And on Mark's channel over on Twitch, we do thank you guys for joining us. And
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. But as they said earlier, we will be releasing the point standings for the finale this evening by hopefully the midway point of this week. And then, we can start celebrating. But nonetheless, thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much for having me for the brief. Well, not very brief as it stands, but for the latter stages of that segment. But thank you guys for having me, and God bless you all. We are looking forward to the future at the JSRA. We're looking forward to Noble Racing coming back stronger, because they did dominate for a lot of this league. Unfortunately, with their drivers, a few of them couldn't be making it, and they had to be substituting, just like with JSRA Team B, and even with Team A holding out in the latter stages. So we have some work to do. Something I'm looking forward to. We took this job for a reason, so we'll definitely be making sure that the racing will be prime and exciting and ready for you guys in the very near future. So that being said, I think this is my moment to kiba, as we say in Jamaica. So, have a lovely night, gentlemen, and thank you. And ladies, if you are watching, this is a handsome voice of Mr. Stewart. Product placement.
I
Wow.
think that was one way to end the stream with El Presidente there. But yeah, Mark, an overall fun event this evening, certainly action-packed event. It was great to call it alongside you. And any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, first off, you can tell he's single. And also, secondly, jokes aside, it was fantastic. I know I wasn't here for the rest of the Praga Cup series, but for the Porsche Cup, for the couple of rounds I was here for as well, was fantastic. I've enjoyed every single race, and this one, honestly, might have been one of the best ones, with the championship coming down to the wire, and, well, we still don't know yet who has taken it. To see Estefano Barrera make his way up the field and nab that podium right at the very end, you could not script it any better than that for him. He is just fantastic. And also all the others, Tim Stoll as well, he was fantastic tonight. All the folks that have shown up, all the teams, we just want to thank you so much once again. I know, of course, Stephen said pretty much everything we needed to hear, but we very much appreciate it, and I love doing this. I love doing this with you guys. So thank you so much for having me on. I know it's certainly not going to be the last time by any means. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else is to come. And I really don't have much more to say than that, except for thank you so very much for giving your time tonight to watch the JSRA Chase for Pace. So with that, Chad, send it off to you for the finish. Thanks so very much, everyone. We very much appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think it's been covered by both El Presidente and Mark quite succinctly. So yes, we do thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you back with us for all future events. Stick around, check out our social media to see what we have coming up next. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We are coming up to there is a round.
Oh yeah.
He tried the switcheroo.
Yeah. You came and failed the test, you met the best, expected chess, but got monopoly. I came and bought you out, I knocked you out, I cropped you out with no apologies. I am the hope, the heart, the faith, the spark, the one who will fulfill the prophecy. I just been counting, never lounging, climbing up mountains, bouncing back. Step in the ring, about you step back. They'll learn hot when I get on the track. I like it louder than most, watching all these sheep just buy down to the goat. If I can't decide, I'ma probably get both. We didn't celebrate, but right now I'm a toast. resurrected
Here
ghost.
is Eastman going side by side with Jaden Harrison. Jaden Harrison took him on the inside, but Eastman says no and closes the door. But here he is now about to lose 2 positions heading into the penultimate corner. Now coming through the final corner, can Moss get past Eastman as well?